Welcome back to the Mina Kimes Show featuring Lenny. Monday Night Football recap edition. Exciting game, much to discuss. Chiefs, Jags. We're going to do winners and woofs from the weekend. We're going to talk about Drake Maye. We're going to talk about Denver Broncos. But first, we have a massive piece of breaking NFL news that I need to get your reaction to, Domonique. The Cincinnati Bengals are acquiring Joe Flacco and a 6th-round pick from the Browns for a 5th-round pick. Truly, just why? That's all I got. Why? What is the point of this?
Well, I mean, I think Cleveland doesn't want him in the building anymore, I would guess. Is not because he's a problem.
No one's asking why from Cleveland's standpoint, Domonique. Be serious.
Well, I mean,
good for Cleveland. I know it's a pick swap-ish, but like a fit, like.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's all about, like, that's the best that they could acquire right now for the Bengals. So, like, Browning has made it pretty clear the last few weeks that he's not the guy. And I suspect that this has a lot to do with the way that their receivers feel about it. And their season is not completely over. They have some hope that Joe Burrow can come back. So that's what this effort is for. It's like we paid the receivers. We kept Hendrickson. We're trying to make a run this year. Can we have someone who can get us enough wins that when Joe Burrow comes back, which is not even a given, and if he does come back, how good he will be, but when Joe Burrow comes back, we'll be competitive, we'll have a chance. I guess that's the explanation. I'm sorry, you're rolling your eyes. I didn't.
No. I mean, that is definitely the logic here. I think you're right. The receivers, and I mean, running's been awful, right? Yeah. I guess my question is, would you rather go for a vet who just got benched for Dylan Gabriel, or at least take a shot on somebody who might have upside not tapped into? They, I guess, believe he brings some level of competence to these. I mean, it's I can't get, it's whatever. They didn't give up much for him. It's not a big deal, but it also just feels utterly pointless.
Yeah. I mean, I think we also have to take into account that there has to be another party. So, like, I don't know who these quarterbacks are that are out there that also have upside. I don't know. You think of Trey Lance or Joe
that's
Milton?
a good one.
Like
Trey Lance. I mean, I feel like the Chargers wouldn't trade him though. So to your point, like, there's no options. I guess the Kirk Cousins thing isn't happening anywhere.
That's definitely not upside.
Better than Joe Flacco. He was better than Joe Flacco last year.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, no, I just meant like anything. I mean, Joe Flacco was so bad, dude. Like, this is not. This is hopeless.
This is not a move. I guess it's for what they gave up. It's like they probably are not interested in giving up. So, like, everyone knows that they're in a bad spot. So they need to find someone that also the team that has them doesn't want them. Unless you're willing to pay up, you're gonna give up 2nd-round picks for some of these guys. Like, that's the.
Yeah. The only one out there is McKee, who I don't think the Eagles are moving on from. He's too good. They might move on from him next offseason if they can get something. I don't know. Bengals fans, I'm sorry. You deserve better than what you've been watching. It's been absolutely brutal. Front office should be fired. They won't, probably. Okay, let's move on to the game, because this was a fun game. Capping off a weekend of upsets. All the unbeatens go down. Back-to-back nights, Buffalo, Kansas City. We'll talk about that in a second, but let's focus on the Jags first. I want to know, before we get into like what they did and did well and didn't do well, what your thought process was when you saw Trevor Lawrence fall, not just once, but twice after getting stepped on by Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I mean, it was only first down, but I mean, I guess they had no timeouts. It was a tough spot to be in, but I definitely, I like Chris Jones, thought the play was over. When he went down, I was like, this one's dead. And he got up and he said in the postgame that he was planning to just throw the ball away. But he's a ridiculous athlete. Like, what is he, 6'6", 6'5", and strong and fast and quick. Like, I get why he was able to make a play. And, like, the whole night, it felt like his legs were an X factor. So
huge.
It felt kind of suitable or kind of fitting that was kind of the defining play of the evening, that it was first a display of his clumsiness and then a display of his athleticism. Because I think we saw both on display all night, from his fumble on the 1 yard line to that incredible pass that he threw on a game-winning drive, that deep ball to who was it, to Johnson?
Right, that was BTJ.
I mean,
the one down the right sideline. Yeah. It was kind of like the Trevor Lawrence experience, right? And I think kind of there's been a lot of talk about like, who is he as a quarterback? Is it over? Is he ever going to be that generational talent? I think you just kind of have to accept that you're going to get some variance. He's capable of truly special high-end plays, and it wasn't just that pass. There's a few other things I thought he did well, but then he makes boneheaded mistakes, and there's occasional sprays here and there. If the run game is dominant, it's probably good enough. And the interesting thing in this game, Domonique, to me, was that the run game wasn't dominant at all. This has been a really good Jags rushing attack. They actually were third in DVOA on the ground coming into this. The Chiefs, I thought, made a pretty conscious effort to stop that. They were not giving them light boxes. They were playing a lot more single high than they normally do, basically daring the Jags to beat them through the air. And I thought, for the most part, like, the passing attack looked pretty impressive. The Travis Hunter experience continues to...
I like it.
Like, it's kind of similar in some ways to what I said about Trevor, right? Like, it's not that he has low lows, but you saw, like, when you watch him on tape versus on broadcast, you can kind of see why he is not the focal point of the offense. He is still developing as a route runner, but he has some of the best ball skills of any player in the league, and you saw that when they finally threw to him downfield. So just throw to him downfield. I don't care if he can run a squiggly swiggle S, as long as he's coming down with the football. Okay.
But he also showed the the elusiveness and athleticism on the short passes that he received.
Scream crazy.
Yeah. There's some players that are, so everyone in the NFL are incredible athletes. And then there's some players who are different. And he's one of the guys that's different. And when you get one of those guys, like it feels, I think, like there's no, probably feels like there's no wrong way to use them, but you also don't want to overuse them, but you don't want to like not use them at all or design your whole offense around a guy. It's like, it's a tough spot to be in. And all the comparisons that you would make to players who just, it seems like they're the wrong players because they're like all-time incredible, great players. But because there are also situations where super athletes like that don't pan out in the way that they should for whatever reasons. But there's one thing that's undeniable when you see him out there is he belongs.
Yeah.
he belongs on offense. He belongs on defense. He belongs wherever he wants to be when he has that ability. And you see him running with Xavier Worthy and like, oh, you can run with Xavier Worthy. And then you throw him the ball and you're like, oh, you could shake their defense out of their shoes and then catch a ball on a deep ball where it's just like, how do you mess it up? You can't mess it up.
He really did play both ways in this game, right? Except for on the final drive, which was kind of interesting. I think they said he got like a little banged up, but that was like, isn't this the idea that you bring him in for the big moments on the, I don't know, it was kind of interesting, but I guess the injury factor, he was a little hurt, they said. Yeah, he definitely looks like he belongs. His movement skills are unbelievable. Ball skills are unbelievable. He might be one of those players where like it takes actually a year for him to like truly reach the height of his power, a year plus to reach the height of his powers. But just generally, throw him the ball, man. Throw him the ball downfield. Like I was watching that when he went up and got it, and I thought, man, he should be getting so many interceptions. Like that hasn't come yet, but the ball skills and the tracking ability and the timing, so crazy. It's so rare.
I also think that there's this thing that I saw, I would say Stephon Diggs, just in my mind, we'll get to that game too, but he's another guy like this where it's a type of intelligence. And I think we normally chalk it up to instinct. It's just like this body intelligence where it's like an anticipatory nature of your body where like you can see and it sounds silly because I don't think this is the way that they think about it, but they automatically do and move in a way that puts them in an advantageous situation to make plays that other people couldn't make. And it's, I don't know what the word, I mean, it's proprioception to some degree, but it's an anticipatory proprioception where I'm watching him and when I see the move or where he planted his foot, I'm like, it's like a hair faster than anyone else would do that. And it's like, it's a recognition of where everything's going to be. It's like a computer almost where he's doing the calculations for how it feels like he's seen some of these situations thousands of times, but it's not true. He hasn't. And then he puts himself in position, which I don't know if it's something.
No, it almost, when I watch him, and maybe this is not the correct way to diagnose this, but he looks like a wide receiver who knows what the corners are going to do, and then he looks like a corner who knows what the receivers are going to do. It feels like that weird body memory kicks in on both sides of the ball. Yeah, I again, he's still refining what he's doing out there.
He's gonna have a couple more games like that this
year. Yeah, and it's gonna there's just the potential for it to be truly special at some point. I mean, Thomas Jr. was good. Obviously, he had the big catch on that. I actually thought on that final drive, by the way, which was the goofiest, insane throw. Then right after that, he had another great throw to De'Ami Brown. Trevor's so good on those outbreakers. He went 9 for 9.
You're forgetting about it started with a kick out of bounds. That whole thing. Harrison Butker kicked the ball out of bounds on a kickoff and gave them a shorter field than he needed.
Have Chiefs fans turned on Harrison Butker yet? They should.
Not yet.
He's single-handedly, not single-handedly. That's not fair. He has contributed greatly to several of their losses. It's some pretty. I mean, that was bad. But yeah, that was hilarious. And then there was. So Trevor also had some scramble. I'm like, what are you doing? Yeah. And then he has a gorgeous throw to BT, a gorgeous throw, by the way. And I thought the Jags offensive line, who I think are really a quite improved unit, was really impressive on that throw. They had that backup center in, and Chris Jones was on him. And I'm thinking this is not going to end well because they overloaded one side, and he held his own against him. So credit to that guy. And then he's got this gorgeous outbreaker, De'Ami Brown, just gorgeous stuff. And then he has a delay of game right after that. I mean, he's just. And then there's the PI, which was absolutely a PI. Yeah. Somebody should make. Yeah, Connor. And then he trips, and I'm thinking when he trips and gets back up, I'm thinking throw it. And when he tries to go, I'm thinking disaster. This could go down but then he makes it in. He's a great athlete. I loved in this one, him leaning on his athleticism, especially when they weren't able to run the ball or when they were getting man coverage. He's kind of an athlete like Justin Herbert to me. I know it sounds like I'm stereotyping, but in that he's just got gigantic big strides, and he's fast, and like Justin Herbert, I've been wanting him to use his legs, so that was good to see.
Do you think so? The only question before we move on, that I have for you is, it seems like at the beginning of this, you're this is kind of who he is. Is there any hope that he's finally found the right offensive mind and the right coach, and that there will be some growth, because we're still early in Cohen experience?
I think so. I mean, I always think back to the season when they went to the playoffs and he was one of the 5 best quarterbacks in football. That was, by the way, another season where he was just so good on those outbreakers. I think about that. I was thinking about that, watching him hit them over and over in this game. His ball placement on those has always been excellent. And that season he was playing super fast. I think it's possible for him to kind of recapture that efficiency. And I think at one point in the broadcast, they were he's 26. I was like, oh God, he's still really young. I forgot he was not an old prospect. So I do think so. It's a good offense. They do a lot of good, obviously, like I said, the run defense, the Chiefs sold out to stop the run a lot, but I really love what they do on the ground. I like the way they use the tight ends. And I think with Hunter and BTJ, the arrow is pointing up, but the defense, I think there was a bit of regression. We'll talk about the Chiefs in a second. This is a defense that had been very heavily reliant on turnovers, and then they got one. I want to actually ask you about that because Devin Lloyd. So this is his year 4, right? And they mentioned on the broadcast that the Jags didn't pick up his 5th-year option. Now, the 5th-year option for linebackers is pretty hefty, and there's a reason why it doesn't get picked up, but the other reason is that he was not good. Gracious. And this isn't, but he seems to be having quite the breakout season, which you and I have talked about. This is a pattern with linebackers in the NFL. It usually takes them a minute to develop and break out. It's why you're often best off, I think, signing vets. And that seems to be the case with, I mean, his instincts and coverage this year have been phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, and it's easy to understand why. If you would look at the way that college games are and the way that pro games are,
Yeah.
it does feel like the pro game they've recognized that that's a spot that you can attack. It's not a place that a lot of people are invested in. It's one of the positions that asks a lot of different things that aren't correlated from the same player. It's like from week to week, you have to be tough against the run, against big offensive linemen, and shed those blocks and go make tackles and fill holes. And then in another week, you might have to be able to cover in the flat against a running back who is just a special back just out there to catch passes, or you might have to cover a tight end. So it's really hard, I think, for players to do both of those things, because those things aren't really related in a way. It's hard to find those players that are capable of not getting bowled over in the running game and then play comfortable in coverage and man or in zone. And I think it might take a little time for guys who do have the athleticism and strength to pull that off, take a little time to get comfortable doing all that stuff.
Were you surprised that Patrick didn't anticipate that they would? So they showed a zero look at the goal line, and then Devin dropped, and Patrick just
threw it to him.
Threw it right to him. I mean, it wasn't right. It was a good play by Lloyd, to be honest. He read him perfectly. But were you surprised that post snap he didn't anticipate that at all in terms of throwing the inbreaker?
It's something that the Jags have done before. And also, like, I am often surprised when Patrick Mahomes is fooled. I think it might have something to do with all the experiences that he's had and in his own intelligence and comfort. But I think it also probably has something to do with training camp. Like, every year in training camp, he's going up against Spags, and you are really focused on trying to beat your opponent in training camp, and you're designing schemes to try to confuse. And like, that was a nice scheme, but it's not unheard of. Like, maybe 10, 15 years ago, you're like, oh, this is crazy. Like, it wasn't a ridiculous concept. All teams, or all these kind of blitz happy teams, like the Vikings and the Chiefs fit that category. They have that in their repertoire. It's something that he knows is possible. So I was surprised. I don't know what his key is in a situation like that, because that's normally how I think a quarterback would approach it. Is like, you pick one guy, and it's like, this guy's going to tell me what you're doing. I watch this guy. And it would normally be one of those linebackers who's right over the line, you know? And so I guess that one step fooled him. He saw the one step forward and looked and let it fly.
Before we move on to the other side of the ball, one more note on the Chiefs defense. I think, like, Water's kind of finding its level with this unit, where I feel like they're about average, right? Like, they're not going to give up as many explosives as they did week one. But I think you saw in this game, they're still not really getting a pass rush outside of Karlaftis and Jones. And Jones is still good, but he doesn't look as dominant as he's been. So they're, leaning a lot on scheme to try to get pressure. And, Lawrence, again, to his credit, I think found a lot of answers against the blitz in this one. But I think that they're right now, like, we'll get to again the other side, but like, I think the defense is fine. I think, though, it does feel like they're missing another pass rusher. That was probably my biggest takeaway.
Yeah, it feels also like we're in another Chiefs transition, where we transition to a defensive focused team, and their offense still created explosives even when they weren't playing the Ravens. So it feels like we're going in a direction where we're looking at explosive. If they're going to have success, which I think they probably will, they're protecting Mahomes better. They ran the ball better last night. I don't know that that's sustainable, but we're headed in a direction where their offense has got to be in the forefront again.
Okay.
In a way that has been a while.
That brings me to my other takeaway from this game, which is the Chiefs lost, but the offense was awesome. So, I'm like,
we're back.
Why? I'm watching this unit thinking, like, so I looked this up. And this blew my mind. So you talked about the explosives. They connected on like 3 passes to Thornton in this one. And that's even Worthy's still returning to health, right? So that's obviously returned to this offense. But success per drop back, setting aside the run game, which also was like great last night. So EPA per play accounts for explosives. Success rate is down to down efficiency. Domonique, last night, the Chiefs offense had their best success rate per dropback since 2022.
Wow. That's
like
incredible.
That's how well they were moving the ball through the air in this game. And it felt like it, to be honest. Like he had the goal line interception, but for much of the game, they were moving the ball really. And so I'm watching this thinking like, holy smokes, the Chiefs offense looks all the way back. And they get Rashee Rice back in a couple of weeks. So I'm not worried about the Chiefs. The defense is fine, but like you said, I think moving forward, this is going to be a team led by the offense, and the offense looks sensational to me. Pacheco looked the best he's looked in I know that they would rather have the win, obviously, and the AFC is kind of a cluster right now. But yeah, that was my big takeaway. The Chiefs offense is all the way back.
I mean, it's funny. That's the fun thing about doing this job is like all last year we're watching those close wins and we're so worried about the Chiefs that never lose. And now we're watching this Chiefs team that has lost a bunch and we're like feeling good about them. I mean, it makes sense when you break it down, but I get why it would sound a little ridiculous. But like I do feel good about the Chiefs because in their losses, it's like Travis Kelce dropping a pass, there's Mahomes throwing a red zone interception. Their plays, it's Chris Jones going inside on a scramble. It's like these kind. Okay, if that's how you're convincing me the Chiefs are going to lose, is that the three most important, like the big three essentially of this run, are going to make the mistakes that cost them, I feel pretty good about it. Okay.
Yeah, I especially again with the Rice return, like moving forward, it's very hard for me not to imagine this being a top 5-ish or so offense down the stretch. Another thing, they've been really leaning on play action the last 2 weeks. I've noticed that as well, and that's helped get guys open in this game. Mahomes went 11 for 12 for 134 yards off of play action. I mean, outside of the interception, he was brilliant in this game. Yeah, Chiefs fans, I know, like, it is, like you said, a great example of how wins and losses can be misleading because the actual offense looks great. I do want to talk about one more thing before we move on to our winners and woofs. So I mentioned, Chiefs lost, the Bills lost, the Eagles lost this weekend. Do you feel like there's more parity now in the NFL than you can remember?
Yeah. I mean, I made this point on Get Up this morning that I have no idea who the best team in football is. I could pick somebody. I would probably say the Lions right now, but they have that ugly loss.
Injuries. They got some injuries. Yeah. Although news just broke, Terrion Arnold, it's not a season ender.
Yeah,
which,
I saw that.
Listen, regardless of how you feel about Terrion Arnold, I saw what they look like without Terrion Arnold. So it's good to have him.
I mean, I don't know what the right answer is to that question. There are more teams right now that I think could win the Super Bowl. Because normally at this point in most seasons, it's like there's 1 or 2 teams, maybe 3 teams that are like, yeah, they got it. But right now, like the big 3 on the AFC side, the Ravens are like an afterthought at this point, and the other 2 teams just came off of losses and have obvious flaws. And then on the NFC
everybody's
side,
got flaws. That's it. Yeah, everyone has flaws. Right. Yeah. The Lions, by the way, play the Chiefs next week. So Sunday Night Football, holy smokes, that's a great game. So we're going to learn a lot about, I actually think it'll be easier to answer this question next week, because if the Lions win that game, I'm like, good, best team. But, they've been playing. It was the Bengals this weekend, doesn't really count. Yeah, it's crazy. I think like Eagles, inconsistent offense, not great pass rush. We're going to talk about Denver in a second. The Chiefs, also not great pass rush. Offense is trending up, but there's places you can pick on. The defense. The Bills, offense is fine. Defense has some issues. We're going to hit those in a second. The Ravens, their entire team is injured. The Packers have proven to be more inconsistent offensively. They still can't run the ball. There's problems there. The Lions' pass defense is a concern of mine with these injuries that they've got. We'll see if Kansas City can take advantage of that. Chargers are melting down. I mean, it's just, yeah, it's crazy. I really do not envy anyone who has to do power rankings right now, because I just feel like, Yeah, it's impossible. Okay. I teased that we're going to talk about a couple of those teams. So let's take a quick break, come back, and do winners and woofs for the weekend. All right, we are back. The Denver Broncos are your winner. Can go in a number of directions here. Big win over the Philadelphia Eagles. Offense came alive in the fourth quarter. Boy, Riley Moss.
Oh.
They went after him a little, but what did you want to focus on in this? Because there's a litany of things I think that were really impressive about this win.
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, I know that their offense, like you mentioned, it came alive late, but their offense was never bad. Like, they didn't have as many 3-and-outs as the Eagles. They were moving the ball. They found a way to effectively run the ball and kept the game close for much of the game. Like, that honestly was the more surprising part to me. And Bo Nix coming up big in the fourth quarter, which was kind of his calling card last year, I guess. A little bit like fourth quarter play was surprisingly high. And to see that come back, because I think that's something that we expected to not be sustainable, because you feel like it's a little bit circumstantial. But to have him be able to do that again in that situation, and them to be aggressive on the 2-point play, like, those things stood out for me. The defense, I expected to play well, but I was happy to see. And I know we're going to give Riley Moss a hard time because he didn't play as well as you would like, but he played well enough. And, like, defense held up, and Philly's it's a tough situation, tough assignment.
I mean, it's a 1A, 1B receiver there. It's really tricky. Yeah, so really quick on the offense, because Bo Nix played well in the fourth quarter. I thought he made some really high degree of difficulty but like they were big boy throws. It wasn't just like super schemed up, wide open stuff. In fact, they were like a lot of back shoulders to Sutton, who I have to say, coming off of a week in which I was like, gosh, Quinion Mitchell, he might be the best corner in football. I still think he's great, but it was kind of fun to see Courtland Sutton be like, hey, I'm still Courtland Sutton, and I'm older than you, and I'm a grown man, and I've been doing, you know what I mean? Like, that's how I felt watching it. It also was funny, again, because we've talked so much about A.J. Brown, and he and Sutton have a lot of similarities as receivers. Sutton was much better in this game. Like, he was just winning his one-on-ones.
How do you think that made A.J. feel? He's on the sideline watching that.
I know, watching him just go up and get the football. Well, you know what? Don't slow up, buddy.
Buddy.
No, but like, I would Sutton. This was such a great Courtland Sutton game, man. Like, he was so good in this one, and he's just so big and strong. And that one play where I think it was like a deep comeback, and there was like 3 Eagles on him, and he broke like all their tackles for the time. That was so sick. I also felt, I'll get to the defense in a second because I want to talk about them, but like, offensively, such a contrast in coaching, right? The Eagles offense, and obviously we've talked about this a lot. It's just, hey, our guys are more talented. Cool, go in. And watching Sean Payton use the way he uses motion to create leverage for his receivers, all the 4x1 stuff, the run game too. I was watching all of their successful runs against Philadelphia, and they do so much stuff that tight end Adkins, who they're constantly putting in the backfield and moving themselves kind of like a fullback. They run like a lot of power with him and pin pull. It's really good. That the one play, I think it was to Ingram, it was the deep ball to they got him on Ringo, where they did like the orbit motion with Mims to pull the defense and created the space. I mean, it's a well-coached team. I thought the coach, honestly, the contrast in offensive coaching was pretty stark here.
Yeah, and I think the point that you're making about Sean Payton jumps out when you watch again and you watch over and over, because I think we yell often about, like, you got to have more motions, you got to have more shifts, more tight ends, more formations. We yell about trends and stuff, but it has to be for a reason. I think what you are articulating there is when you watch Sean Payton after the game and rewatch it, you're like, oh.
Yeah.
I see why you were trying to create this situation. It's not just to create chaos for the sake of chaos. It's like there has a point. It's an advantage that he sees.
Right.
And he's going to try to put his people in position and use personnel or use shifts and motions to put you in an unadvantageous situation. Yeah,
it's definitely amongst the most purposeful uses of motion, I think, in the league. All right, the defense I do want to hit, though, because I thought, They were really impressive in this. I think what struck me about this defense in this game, because we've talked a lot about the Broncos defense. I had them as the best in the NFL. Texans have been really good, but they're really good. I think what's so impressive though is, like they have such a dominant 4-man rush, and then they have such dominant players on the back end. It really does feel like in another moment in football, Vance Joseph, who's the defensive coordinator, would just call it straight up and just play 4 down fronts and a ton of man coverage, which they do sometimes, but it's not what's happening. I think he has done a phenomenal job of game planning for opponents and changing up some of their tendencies and pulling back on man coverage and the blitz in certain scenarios. And, I thought in this one, just again, like really, obviously played more zone against Jalen Hurts, but like the pressures, the simulated pressures that he was calling, the DB blitzes were well-timed and excellent. He was mixing up which downs he was calling them on. And I thought it just, it's cool to see like a defense is not just like extremely well-talented, but also creative and well-coached.
I think that like the juxtaposition between the Broncos defense and the Eagles offense is an interesting one.
Yeah.
Like, we're so talented, we don't want to mess it up. Keep it simple. And the Broncos defense, it's like, we're so talented that we can do more stuff, which is like, I get the risk of like, you don't want to overthink it with your guys. If you have really good guys, just let them go out there and win. But when you do it right, you can see what the Broncos have. And I was a little surprised in this game in general about how aggressive their deep safeties are, because most people in the league are so concerned about giving up the big play. It was like eliminating big play is like the new, like, don't turn over the ball. And people play in that way a lot more often, but they're going to get all 11 involved because they trust everybody. Yeah. So everyone's involved.
And there, you really see, we talked about Peyton as a sequencer when it comes to offensive play calling. You saw, I thought, some really nice sequences from Vance Joseph. I mentioned that he was blitzing the DBs, I think on at least like 3 of third downs or something. He sent either Barron or various defensive backs. But then in key moments, a third down later, I noticed this, Barron showed blitz and then dropped. Like, he was constantly messing with the Eagles offense. And then that's the final thing, by the way, they got them into third and long over and over in this game. The Eagles, I would say early down rushing struggles, but they stopped trying to run the ball. Some of that was RPOs, which was working in the first half, by the way. The RPOs were really effective. But yeah, they just constantly got them into obvious dropback situations. And then, by the way, we've got 2 of the fastest pass rushers in football on top of that. And by the way, if you try to climb the pocket, we have Zach Allen. It's just, they're really good. I have to say, like, really complete, really well-coached unit. Good to see the offense join the party as they have over the last couple of weeks. This looks like a very formidable team. All right. From formidable to, what's the opposite of formidable? No, I'll do my winner first. Okay. I was going to talk about my Woof, but let's do my winner first. Drake Maye. Woo! Speaking
of fun.
The party. I don't even know where to begin.
Stephon Diggs, the quarterback whisperer. He'll take your quarterback to the next level.
It's not just that Diggs went crazy in this game. It's the way he went crazy. And you and I have a little side text about we're tired of people using relationship analogies sometimes to talk about sports. Yeah. But this is one where it really is like, he used to do that with me. Because in particular, because in the game on extended plays, Maye throws over 4 seconds. Maye was 6 for 7 for 104 yards. That included, of course, the insane throw to Diggs, which that was one too. And I don't think they showed it during the broadcast, but on tape you saw Diggs. I'm sure you've seen end zone views of the ball. It's a crazy ball, by the way. Like, beautiful throw. Drake Maye rolling to his right, which apparently is like, he's like God when he rolls to his right. But Maye immediately recognizing, breaking off his out, and then twirling around. I forget which DB was. He goes Trey White. Like, yeah, I mean, it was Diggs. Yeah. Just such special stuff. And then meanwhile, on the other side, it felt like every time Josh Allen bought time, Patton. No one's open downfield. And it's hard not to like observe the contrast in having a receiver who's really good at that can do for you.
Yeah, and he's just a really good player, and you get him the ball, and he makes 5-yard plays into 10-yard plays. And I used to talk about this with running backs a lot, that those kind of yards get missed, where it's like Zeke was really good at this, where you'd hand him the ball, and it's like probably a 1-yard play, and he'll turn it into a 4-yard play. And we don't talk much about it. Like, hey, he set up a block and did something, you don't think much about it. But I mean, 2nd and 6 is a lot different than 2nd and 9. And I think the same thing about Stephon Diggs, where it's like, all right, we threw you a first down out that most people would take out of bounds or get tackled immediately, and we're looking at 2nd and 5. He's like, nah, we'll go ahead and get you a new set of downs. And that matters. It's hard to convert, to move the chains. And when you have someone who can do it for you, it takes so much pressure off.
He's so good at like all the little nuances of playing the position. And like I mean,
it's fun to watch.
He's just a professional wide receiver, man. Last year, I remember I mentioned this when the Pats signed him. Before he got injured in Houston halfway through the season, he led the league in first downs. And it felt to me like exactly that's not true. It's not the one. The Pats still need deep speed. I still feel that way. But they really needed a consistent chains mover. And when you watched him in this game, you just felt like, oh, you're doing all these little things. Yeah. Your timing of the routes, the way you make yourself available as a quarterback, the body control on the sideline, the little like upfield movements, like you said, just really, really, really experienced. Sorry, this is supposed to be a Drake Maye conversation. It's turning into a Steph Diggs conversation. Yeah, but you're right in that it's a huge part of why. There's a lot of things Drake did well in this game. I mean, I know that it's such an obvious comparison, but he really did look like Josh Allen out there. Like if you switch jerseys, obviously with the guy draped all over him and he's getting the ball off, or the throws. Josh Allen does the thing where he's rolling to the right sideline and makes the throws too. But the thing I wanted to highlight that maybe impressed me the most, and has impressed me the most about him this season, is just the touch he's throwing with. Like the catchable footballs. I mean, the ball to Diggs, there were like 2 throws he hit to Hunter Henry over the middle of the field in this game. Just beautiful layered throws. The whole shot on the final drive, I know a lot of folks have talked about how good that was. It's just like, you know, when we think about like what is sustainable that these young quarterbacks do, that ability that he has flashed this season is what is going to make him a superstar. The out of structure stuff is great, the athleticism, the arm talent, but like the touch he's throwing with right now is really impressive, Domonique.
Yeah, I mean, this is how often you can do this and for how long you can do this is like the question. He's shown that he has the ability to play at the highest level of quarterback in the league. Can he do it every week? And honestly, he's shown it without the type of infrastructure support that I think that we would always need, and he's shown it really early. I think that was one of the big questions coming off of last year was like, all right, but could you do this consistently enough to win? And we'll still see about that and do this in big games and all those sorts of things. There's these levels that you get to, and before you get to them, where like there becomes another question. So he might be earning the right very soon to get into the conversation where we start asking a whole nother question where we move the goalposts on him, which is really fast. Because I think after last year, there were big questions that it's feeling more and more like he's answering this season.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think you'll also face harder competition,
right?
Which I guess brings me to your Woof.
Yeah.
I mean, this sort of connects to the Josh Allen comp. Again, quarterbacks don't play each other. Part of the reason why Josh Allen struggled, he was still super efficient in this game. It was not a bad Josh Allen game. But part of the reason why they weren't able to put up a lot of points was the Patriots kind of are capable of the 2 things you have to do against this defense, which is stop the run. And then if you're allocating extra resources stopping the run, have corners who can hold up. And that's kind of what happened, right, in this game. I mean, it was the Bills' worst rushing performance of the season. It wasn't even that bad, but there were no explosives on the ground. And, you know, I alluded to the Drake Maye and the extend throws and guys getting open on Josh Allen's tape. No one was open against these Patriots DBs, and you had Christian Gonzalez making crazy plays downfield. So I just kind of felt watching it like, oh, the Bills, we're running into what could be the Bills' offensive problems down the stretch is if you have defenses who are capable of doing this.
Right, which like they made the decision to go to more egalitarian receiver core, which I think there are pros and cons to all of this, but it's nice to have a guy. It's real nice to have a guy in those situations, and they don't have him, which Keon Coleman hasn't turned it at. Shakir, I think I like him better than Coleman, honestly, but he's not going to be that player.
Kincaid was really good in this game, by the way.
Who's that?
Kincaid was really good.
Oh yeah,
in the game.
But I mean,
it's
not a guy, and I think the defense, like this.
All right, defense, this is Woof is your defense, I assume.
Yeah, the Wolf was the defense. The defense was the Wolf, and the pass rush is that is where they're going to have to win. I think if they're gonna have any success on defense, and we talked about this before, like they thrived on turnovers, and we feel like that's not something that can be replicable, but somehow they repeat it year after year. But if they're going to have a unit that they can rely on, and of course Ed Oliver's still out, but like they were not getting the type of pressure or pass rush with Ford that I think they need to, because then they started blitzing, they started doing all types of stuff, they started doing these disguises and stuff, and none of it was really all that effective. But this team at its core, what they want to do is play zone and let their pass rush eat, and the pass rush wasn't eating. And so that's the concerning part for me, for them going forward against a better Patriots offensive line, but they were leaving guys in to help. But we're not looking at the 2024 Eagles. Like, this is not an O-line that you should be able to find ways to win.
Yeah, the Pats were chipping them a lot. I noticed that they were using a lot of play action, 40% play action rate, and Maye went 11 for 13 play action. But to your point, I think like it does feel like the pass rush has to get home or bad things will happen, and so they were able to beat them without sending tons of guys as options for Maye. And I just think this secondary has some age. They've got, maybe age is the wrong way to put it. There's a lack of speed that shows up sometimes. I think the linebackers too, New England was able to do to some degree. And the front, you can get them with misdirection if you get them flowing the wrong way. I think they got them twice with like two back power that the New England did, and one of the touchdowns for Stevenson, the entire defense was flowing in the wrong direction. So, I think offenses that can stress them horizontally and then buy time for the quarterback can create issues. And unfortunately, I kind of think that's the Kansas City Chiefs now. So, as we spin this forward, and thinking about kind of our earlier conversation about who the best teams are, watching that Chiefs offense on Monday, watching the Bills defense on Sunday, I do think that it's a mismatch. However, I also think the Bills offense can move the ball in Kansas City. So I just think it's likely to be high scoring games whenever these two teams finally meet.
I feel like I've been so wrong about so many big game predictions so far this season that maybe I'll start to get a better feel for the teams now that it seems like we're getting a better idea for them. But like, I think the Lions-Ravens game jumps out to me as one where I was the most wrongest of all of them. But I've been really wrong in how I thought early on. Like, I've been right in some games too, but it feels. So when I hear you say that, I'm like, yeah, you're right. But I'm a little gun-shy now because I've been so wrong about so many things this season.
Yeah, I mean, on paper, both the Chiefs. Chiefs offense is better than the Bills defense, and the Bills offense is better than the Chiefs defense. Yeah. I feel comfortable.
Dallas and Green Bay. It's like, nah, Dallas gonna get run out of there. Nope.
Yeah. That's a whole other conversation. But again, on paper, the Packers defense had been excellent up to that point. Yeah. So like in sum, I'm not panicking about the Bills. I feel the same way about them kind of that I do about the Chiefs, right? Like, the offense is capable of amazing things. Defense has some holes, weaknesses. Ultimately, probably just going to come down to individual game plans. If these teams face off, can Spags come up with something to handle the Bills' run game? It was, again, to go back to the Pats, and I think I posted about it, going back and watching the run defense, it was really impressive because this Bills offense has just been removing guys on the ground, the line and the blocking with those downhill runs. And the Patriots have invested a lot in run defense, I think. And obviously it's like a priority for Mike Vrabel and it really paid off. I thought the nose tackle Tonka was excellent in this game. Spillane, 2 of their free agency acquisitions, kind of played out of his mind against the run. So he chased down Allen once in a like super impressive play. So yeah, I think the Bills are a worthy woof, but they're certainly not as much of a woof as mine, which we will end with, the Arizona Cardinals, the biggest woof of the week. Blowing a game to the Tennessee Titans in which they were up 1 point at 21-3. And some of the things that happened, Greg Rosenthal posted all these. They intercepted Cam Ward, but then they fumbled it and then knocked it backwards into the end zone where a Titan picked it up, which is one of the most, if you haven't seen this, please go look it up. It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen. After dominating them early on in the game, they did not score in their final 8 drives. Last drive, Gannon would not let Kyler throw the football. And then they gave up the game-winning drive. Also, their running back, Demercado. Yes, Demercado.
Yeah. Amani
Demercado ran the ball 75 yards and then dropped it at the goal line. And then the coach, Jonathan Gannon, lost it at him and then had to apologize for that today. I don't know if you saw it. So it's a lot.
Hold on. Kyler took a shotgun snap off the face mask. Turnover.
Tough.
He also had an absurd intentional grounding, like an underhand backwards toss that wasn't even anywhere convincing. There were a number of absurd plays.
Yeah, took some really bad sacks. I was looking at some of my notes watching this. He missed some weird throws. Also, like Harrison was like dominant in the first, and then they were like, nah, let's just never throw it to him again. This feels like the beginning of the end for this. I don't know. Like, is that too dramatic? I mean, this is a really bad loss.
It's a very bad loss. We'll find out, honestly, which I guess is a bit of a cop-out. How they respond will tell us a little bit about this team. I don't want to. The loss. It felt so I don't want to say fluky, but
I know a lot of the reason I was listing all that is all that stuff had to happen.
Right. When you say beginning of the end, I imagine wheels falling off, not outplaying someone and still losing. Yeah. How you respond to that is the question. Because when I think beginning of the end, it's they have no hope. There's no chance for them to win. It's this team is better than that bad team. But it's been a bad stretch, and
they have the.
I guess the reason why when you say that it rings it rings a little true when you say that, because it does feel like, even though Gannon is relatively new, Kyler's been there for a long time, and it does feel like, when is this going to happen for this team?
Yeah, Kyler, I just feel like he could be one of the, we've got all these second chance, third chance quarterbacks. Doesn't it feel like he could be that?
But he's not bad. I know. All those other guys were bad.
I know.
He got an extension.
Saying. It feels like, but doesn't it feel like he'll be in another team in 3 years, and suddenly it's wow, Kyler Murray, it's amazing. And then people are why'd the Cardinals give up on him? In the way that they're doing that with Baker and Darnold in Carolina. It's because they were bad then, and now they're good. People change. I have a Cardinal stat that might blow your mind. This is about the Cardinals' defense.
Okay.
In the first 3 quarters, entire season, so it's been 5 weeks now, first 3 quarters, if you took out the fourth quarter of every football game, the Cardinals' defense is first league-wide in EPA per play.
Wow.
And then in the fourth quarter alone, they dropped to 27th.
God. Is it I don't know. I mean, I guess I was trying to imagine maybe it's just one really bad fourth quarter. Since it's only 5 games, it is just one that really skews it. But now, when I run back through their games in my mind, they were kind of bad in the fourth quarter.
The offense also drops off, but it's not as dramatic. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's really bad.
Fourth
quarter is kind of important.
But it also is frustrating because it's
exactly
that they should be. But you know what I mean? This is not a bad defense. They have.
It doesn't fit easily into a story where I could be able to say that mean, I guess the story would be conditioning or something. Because like if it was they're really bad in third quarters, I would easily be like, oh, they don't adjust. They got a good game plan. They don't know what to do with it. The fact that you're fine in the third quarter, then you fall apart in the fourth quarter is like you got to run more wind sprints. What are we in high school? What's going on? Well, wind sprints, not the right one.
Yeah, I don't know. I have to think through like what happened. I mean, this particular game, it just kind of felt like one of those spiraling games where things kind of, and then Ward making some great plays down the stretch, the throw to Ridley, incredible. Titans fans, I feel like are arrows pointing out. This is the best, not the best, but one of the best situations to be in football is when your team has a really good young quarterback and the team's not good yet, but you know you
have Maye.
Yeah, it's Drake Maye. So I feel like Titans are kind of.
Yep, it's a bad sign for Callahan because the Drake Maye solution was a new coach.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do. He can't be like, all right, it's time to play Cam Ward. You're already playing.
He was about to be out of there, I believe.
If they had not won this game.
I mean, at least I think the word that I heard from one of our insiders was before the game, this was a very important game for him. And then to win in absurdly miraculous fashion is, I don't know, he must have went to church or something.
They have the Raiders next week.
Nice. Get right. They're both looking at that.
Yeah, I was just saying, who's getting right here?
That is funny. It's like it's the opposite of when two good teams are like, man, this is the game. Like the 49ers and the Cowboys when we were kids. I guess maybe not when you were a kid. You were a really young kid, but like the 90s. 49ers and Cowboys every year was like, all right, find out who's going to win the Super Bowl tonight. This is like the opposite end of that, where they both circle each other's calendar like, hey, guys, you got to get right here.
Yeah, I feel like it's like on Love is Blind when both people think they're too good looking for each other, you know, and you're like, we got some delusions, you know. It's so good. If you're listening to this and you're watching Love is Blind, go check out my Love is Blind podcast with David Dennis Jr. Viewer discretion.
One day I need a video diary of like your week, because you don't need to share with the entire world, but you managed to be like all over everything all the time, and still, I mean, like all the games, you watch all the games, you have inside all the games, you do all the shows, you are active with your son, you watch Task in Love is Blind, record a Love is Blind podcast, get on planes all the time, and then still, so it's like, I don't mean this as like I'm kissing your ass, it's really impressive, like, when the fuck do you sleep?
Yeah, I watch the shows when I run. I run every day. So that's
watching when you run. Isn't that dangerous?
I'm on a treadmill. What do you think I'm running?
You used to run outside. You live in LA. What are you on a treadmill for?
Gotta protect my knees, man. They can't be running on streets and hills. All right, that's it for this week. Yeah. Well, next week the Monday night games are amazing too. It's a doubleheader, but have you looked at them? They're both really good games. Yeah, it's like hold on, I'm gonna pull it out. I think it's NFL schedule. Sorry, nobody wants to hear me look up this. But okay, yeah, next Monday is a doubleheader, and it is impossible for you to pull up, but it's really good. So
there you go. Don't miss it.
I'll be back with Domonique next week to cover the Monday night games. I will be back later this week on Thursday morning to preview Week 6.